You guys can go ahead. Thank you.
Hey, everyone, welcome to the session 2 of the Automation Developer Associate Training Series. In this session, we would be covering data manipulation with strings, collections, and data tables. So this is what the agenda looks like. We would give you an introduction to what is data manipulation. Then we would go on covering it with strings, then with lists and dictionaries, then with data tables, and at the end wrap up with the Q&As and a Menti quiz. So the first topic is to give an introduction of what really is data manipulation before we jump on to how do we do it with different data types like strings, lists, data tables, dictionaries. Okay, so introduction, what is data manipulation? So it's definitely very important, and it refers to the process of you modifying, organizing, or restructuring your data to make it more useful, accurate, and meaningful, because you cannot consume the unstructured data directly most of the times. You can definitely consume unstructured data, but then that would or include like engineering or putting AI to the data to get structured data out of it. Now, data manipulation tasks can include like sorting your data, filtering your data, merging your data, deleting or transforming data within the databases. It can be within the spreadsheets. It can be within the programming environments. So this, what you see here shows that this is what unstructured data looks like, wherein you'll have text files and documents, image files, emails, and social media data. Now this has to go through some manipulation so that you get the data in a CSV or Excel, which becomes the spreadsheet format, or you get it into database in the forms of table, rows, and column, which then becomes the structured or semi-structured data. So the key advantage that you're going to get out of it is that you'll ensure that your data is structured and it is stored consistently. And you integrate data from various sources and provides consolidated view, which means when you store it in databases, you'll have it in forms of rows and columns. When you store it in Excel or CSV or any spreadsheet for that matter, then also you'll have it in a structured format. You can organize and summarize the data when you're storing it in structured format. You can do joins on it, you can do filtering on it, you can do sorting on it. And then you can transform your data to make it compatible for data analysis. For example, you want to do some sort of analysis, summing it up, or analyzing the top records or the count of the records, all those analysis you can do once you've transformed your data into a structured format. So these are the common operations for data manipulation: retrieving, which means you just getting the data. Now you can specify some conditions to extract the type of data you want, or you can filter or summarize the data, that you filter it based on certain records, or you filter it based on certain username. That's retrieving the data. Then we have adding the data, wherein you're adding new data in a data structure, which is also called inserting. Deleting data is removing entries from a data structure, and modifying is that you're making changes in what is already existing. So that way you're modifying. So now modifying can also be kind of, say, appending to what is already existing. So these are the common operations which you would perform for data manipulation. Now coming on to what can we do with strings. So these are few of the string manipulation listed here, but we would see it in action in the studio. But I would give you a brief understanding of what all of these functions are. So string.concat, and when you give two variables here, var1 and var2, it is going to concatenate. So concatenate basically means it's going to add var1 and var2 together. Var name that contains text, so as the method suggests, it is going to check that whether this thing, the text, is present in var name or not. So it's going to return a boolean, whether true or false. So if it exists, if this particular string is part of var name, then it is going to return true, or it is otherwise it's going to return false. var name dot index of A. So it's going to look where is A in this. So if you see in var name, A is over here, right? So it would return the index of it. Now, if index starts from 0, then index of A would become 1. Var name dot last index of A, so it's going to start searching from the reverse. So it would start from E, M, A, and this is what is the last index of A. Var name dot replace original with replaced. So it would search for this string in here and then replace it with this. Now, what would substring do? It would trim the string. So it would start from this particular index and then go up until the length. So if you say 0, 3, so it would start from here and go up until the length, which is it would trim the 3 letters here. String.format would like format your string to be present in a certain output format. So if you give 0 is 1 and whatever you're defining in the curly braces, so the first variable is going to come here and the second variable is going to come here. So mostly you use this in the output format, like when you're writing an output or entering a log is when you use this particular way so that the output that you're printing onto the orchestrator is in a formatted manner. Now var name.split, and then you give what you want to split it on. So it would look for this particular backslash and then split on that. And then index would help you in, so if I put a slash here and I split it on this, so then first part of it would become 0th index and the second part of it would become first index. So then you can pick and choose which particular index you want to pick up. Now string.join, in which you give what's the joining parameter and then you give your values. So what it would do is that it would join whatever you have written here with this. So it would write your string, put a this and join another string. So these are few of the methods for string manipulation, but we would see them in action in the studio. Moving forward, some more string manipulation looks like this. So it comes with the basic system.activity, so you don't need to install any other package for it. It would have change type, in which you can change the data type of a particular variable, find matching patterns, in which you can search for a particular pattern within the string. Is text matching? It would just return your Boolean value whether there is a matching pattern or no. You can modify your text. You can replace the matching patterns and you can add things either on the left or on the right. So when you come to more string manipulation and these two activities that you see here, find matching patterns and is text matching, is actually part of regular expressions. So it's a specific search pattern that can be used to easily match, locate, and manage text. So, and creation of regular expression is little challenging because then you need to find the best permutation and combination to write the regular expressions. And it is used for input validation, data passing, and manipulation. So if the manipulation is not as easy and as straightforward as doing a substring or doing a replace, and that's when you go with regular expression because they involve little advanced and complex expressions to be able to do any manipulation. And there comes a RegEx Builder, which can simplify the creation of regular expressions, which we'll see. So now I'm going to switch my screen towards the studio, wherein we will see all of this in action. Okay, first up, any particular variable you create or whatever name you give it to, it would have like 3 things to it. One is object, then is method, and then is properties. So any variable that you're creating consists of these 3 things. So objects are the fundamental building blocks. So any variable that holds any value, for example, username here can be treated as an object because it contains a value. Now properties are the attribute of an object. And method is what you use on it. So if you're using a replace method or you're using a concatenate method, then that becomes the method. And properties would be an attribute of an object. So these are the three blocks of it, or three parts of it: objects, method, and properties. Now talking about some more methods as we saw here, all these. So let's see them in action as well. So let me open string manipulation. Okay. So I have here a string. This is var1 and var2. Now I can also add like more to it. Like I added this. So what it is going to do, it is going to add all of them and make it look like data manipulation demo. So when I'm going to run this, it would become like this. It would add all of these three together. Okay, so let me print this and see what's the output. Now I can either use a message box to get a pop-up on my screen, or I can use a write line and I'll get the output here. For the demo purpose, we are going to stick with the message box. So if I do concat strings, and since it's a string, I can just directly use the variable. I don't need to change the data type. Now if I run it, it got data manipulation and demo. It has concatenated all the three strings. But of course, there is no spacing in between, but we can get the spacing as well if we want. Now comes the second, which is value exist. Now, if I want to check that whatever this variable is, which has data manipulation demo, I want to check certain value in it. I want to check if data is existing in it or not. So since data is already there in this particular string, the answer should be true. Now, if I print this, so I'm going to use a message box again, and I'll write here value exists. Now, when I'm going to print the value of it, I can't use it directly because this is a Boolean, right? So if you hover over it, you can see it's a Boolean. So this Boolean needs to be converted to string to be able to use it in the message box. So I'll do .toString and now it's converted. So the answer of this should be true. So let me run it again. So first up, we would have our concatenated string, which is data manipulation demo. And second output would be true. Now I'm going to pass something that is actually not present in the string. For example, let me pass string here, right? Which is actually not part of the concat string because concat string has data manipulation and demo. So if I run it again, first output would be data manipulation demo, but if I go further, it would say value exists false because it is not containing in it. Second is join value. So what's the difference between concatenation and what's the difference between join? Since both of them are actually appending into the string. So what would join do? It would actually take a parameter on what you want to join. For example, if I do string dot join, and if you look here, the parameters it takes is that you have to give a separator as a character and then value as string. And then you can also give start index or count. So if I do join and I say I want to join on a comma, and then and now I give all the strings that I actually want to join. So I give ABC, I give DEF, I give demo. It all has to be strings. So within the brackets, demo. I give Wednesday. Okay. Now, if I also want some spacing to be present here between this, so I can also give a spacing here that it should be a comma and a space, and that's how every string should be joined. Now, if I do OK, and over here, I have used WriteLine so that we see how both of the message box and WriteLine functions. And let me run this. Okay, then this would be false. And this is what our output looks like. So this is the joint value. It's ABC, comma, DEF, comma, demo, comma, Wednesday. So it has joined based on comma and a space. So that's the difference between join and concatenate, even though both of them are joining the string or concatenating the string. Now let's move on to some other manipulation, and then we'll have a look at what's remaining. So some more methods are here. So if I simply go and search your string, so this is the screenshot that was also there present on to the presentation. So change type, find matching pattern, is text matching, modify text to replace matching pattern, and text to left right. So first up, we have change type. You give a variable here, right? So if you look, change variable is an object, and I did not create it. So what happened is once you drag it here and you create any pattern, you say change variable demo. So I did Control K to create that variable. And if you have a look over here, change variable demo is an object. Now you will say, if you want to change this variable into what type, you can change it to Boolean, you can change it into string, integer, but whenever you're changing it, it should also be compatible. For example, if you're trying to change ABC to an integer, and it's a action that actually cannot be performed, right? But what you're doing here is in change variable, if I have true, which is a string because it's in double quotes. Now, if I'm trying to change this into Boolean, then this can actually be converted. This is a conversion that can actually happen. So what I did is that I'm putting change to type as Boolean and I'm storing it into a converted variable, right? And if I have to actually print this particular variable, what we saw in the previous demo as well, if you're trying to print a Boolean variable into the message box, you would get an error. And that's why you need to change it into toString. So this true that I've given here as a string will actually get converted into a Boolean data type. Okay. Second up, if I search for string, is find matching patterns. Now this is regular expressions. And if you open this, you'll be able to configure your regular expressions. Few of the regular expressions you can get from here. If you want one of something, anything, any word, character, white space, if you want a regular expression that starts with something, ends with something, or you want to write your own regular expression, you can write it here. Or you want to find all the emails, then this is one. And you can also test it. Say, for example, here I write a@gmail.com. Right? So it is checking for @ being present here, and it is also validating that this is a correct statement. Now, if I try to give an email ID, that's actually wrong. For example, something like gmail.com. Now, this is not getting validated because this expression is not validating this to be a valid input. So this is what regular expression does. And if we have to do this with just string manipulation, then either it would be very complex or it would include a lot of conditions. And that's why regular expression comes into picture when we have to deal with complex scenarios like this. Now, for example, I go with some URL. I can verify that as well. Or I go with a US phone number, right? So US phone number is, I give 3 characters, I give a hyphen, 3 more numbers, a hyphen, and then 4 numbers. So this is a valid match. What actually this expression means, I'll just try to explain a bit that what does this expression actually means or how it is written. Let me open a message box. Okay. So this particular thing says 0 to 9, which means any number between 0 to 9 and then a hyphen. So even if I write all the numbers without any hyphen, that would also work. So one permutation is this combination. Then the second combination is that I write 0 to 9 and only 3 numbers. So this indicates how many of this can be written. So if I write any characters between 0 to 9, but 3 characters, and then I write again 0 to 9 number and 3 characters and then give a hyphen. So this indicates that even this 3 characters, then 3 characters and then a hyphen. Okay. And then 0 to 9, 3 characters and a hyphen. Okay. And then 0 to 9, 4 characters. So even if I write this, this is also a valid number. If I write this, which is 3 characters, and 4 characters, this is also a valid number. If I write 3 characters, hyphen, and 4 characters, this is also a valid number. So it is actually checking for all the combinations as long as the number is valid. But if I write 3 characters, and 3 characters, then this is not valid because it is actually not containing the 10 characters. So this is what regular expression would signify. So let's have a look at the output of it. So in the output, you will give a pattern. You will give a pattern option, which means you want to have an ignore case, you want to ignore the case or no, you want to have multi-line or no. Sorry about that. You want to have multi-line or no, you want to do right to left, or you want to ignore pattern white spaces and stuff like that. Then you give the text to search in, and this has to be a string. So if we have a look over here, text to search, I have given a phone number list here. So this is the phone number list. And let's also have a look at the phone number list. So it has this. And this is a valid number because it's 3 character, 3 character, 4 character. But this is not a valid number because it does not have sufficient characters. This is again a valid number, and this is not a valid number. Okay, so the output should be that we get this number and this number because these are the valid numbers. So once we pass this particular string to your text to search in, the output would be either we get the result, which would be list of all the matches. And the result could also be that whatever is the first match, give that. So let's do first phone number match. Okay, and let's try to run this. So this is true, which is this Boolean variable. So this string has been converted to Boolean. And now I've done, okay, and let's look at the output of this. So output of this is in match list. And this is match list, it's a list. So the 2 numbers that were actually the valid numbers are present in this list. Now, if we look at the first match phone number, which is this. So the first number here ends with 3848. And that's the number we have here, 3848. We can also have a look of those values over here in the immediate panel. So if I do first phone number match, so this is the number that we get here. So this is one of the use of regular expressions. Another thing is that you can also write your own regular expressions. For example, this thing here, right? Now, if I have to actually test it, let me write a text here. This is a demo. So what it is actually doing is it is only looking for words that are starting with capital letters. \W is for looking for a word, and A to Z is, since we have written it in capital letters, it will only look for the words that start with capital. Now, if I do it with small, then it would look for is a demo, right? And with capital, it would look for the ones that starts with capital. This is a demo data. So since data starts with a capital D, it is like this. Easier starts with small, so it has skipped. Now I'll write manipulation with a capital D. Full stop. Then let me write string with capital S. That would capture string as well. So the output of this should be all the words that are starting with A to Z capital, which is this, data, manipulation, and string. Okay, and I have done ignore case, of course, because I only want the capital. And now let me have a look at this particular value or output. Now, one way is that I search it here in the immediate pane, or what I can do, I can put a for each and print all of it. So if I use a for each, now in for each, I will have to give whole list. And if you look, it's already coming because that's the one of the list that you've created. So it's giving you a suggestion also. And this would become string. Okay, so our output is whole list here. And again, we can store the first match over here. Now let's put a message box or a write line. Let me put a message box. And it stores for each current match. This is the current match. And current match over here. And let's try to run this. Let me remove this debugger from here and run it. So this is the first one. Okay, that's because, okay. It's because of the data type. So let me, okay. This is the string that it is searching in. Okay, let me change the string and make it, this is a demo. So starting with capital letters are this and demo. So let's save this and run this again. So true is coming from here. So this because D is with caps. And then we get demo because D is with caps, and is and A is being replaced. Okay. So since this was our input string and this and demo started from caps, so it was captured. So this is another example of finding the matching patterns and then iterating on them and printing them. Now, again, let me go back to the string activities. So we have is text matching. So what this would do is you can configure the regular expression the same way, but instead of returning us a list or a first match, it would only return whether it is existing or no. So it would only return true or false, given that it is existing or no, but it would not return the list or the first match. So that's the difference between these two activities. Then we have modified text. So modified text looks something like this. You will give your text to modify, and then whenever you select any of these activities, an activity would get added here. So find and replace, added an activity here. If I want to trim, it would add an activity here. If I want to do text to uppercase or lowercase, it would add an activity here. And then it would go on modifying the text based on whatever activities are present in it. An example of it is here. So I've said this is a demo for UiPath Associate Developer Series, and there is some spaces here, the white spaces here, and I can also give some white spaces here. Now what I'm doing is I am adding onto the left of it, which is here, I am adding date to hyphen. And then what I'm doing trim left and trim right. So it's going to remove the backspaces from here and backspaces from here after adding it, right? But if I have to trim it before adding it, then the trim should be first and then I should combine the text. Okay, for example, okay, let's first run this and see, and then we'll see the examples. So what it would print is that to this particular thing, it would add day 2. Now, if I give some white spaces here also and I do trim, then all these white spaces would be removed. So let me quickly run it. And I will disable this. And I'll also disable this so that we directly get the message box for this one. So it says edited text, day 2. This is a demo for Associate Developer Series. So it has trimmed the white spaces here. Okay. So this is what it would do. And we can keep on adding more modification activities here if we want. We can combine the text. If you want to add new text, we will say, okay, and string manipulation here. And I can choose whether I want to add it on left or I want to add it on right. Now, if I run this thing again, so I've said that you have to add this new text onto the left. So it would add the string manipulation thing onto the left. So you can see string manipulation, day 2. This is demo, so added onto the left. If I do it on the right, then it would be added here at the end. Now comes text to left and right. And it's actually the same thing what we are doing here. We are adding a new text to left and right, but we do have activities for it. So with this, we can also split. So one way of splitting is that we use assign activity. So I'm going to show it with both. So what we are doing here is that we have this string, data manipulation, data tables and strings, and we're splitting it based on this, right? Colon. So we are saying separate it on colon and enter text before the separator. So it becomes left side and this becomes right side. So left side would contain data manipulation, right side would contain data tables and string. Another way of splitting it is what we can do here. This becomes a string. Now we can also store this thing into a variable and we say dot split, which is the function, and we say split it on colon. Now if I do 0, I'm going to get the left side, and if I do 1, I'm going to get the right side. So let me do 0 first. So it would split on this, and this would become 0 and this would become 1. So I've done 0 for here, and let me write here left side or split. Okay, and let me put some right line to show the output. So this becomes left side of split. Okay, and over here I'll add left side. So both the activities are doing the same thing. For one, you don't have to write the function, and for one, you have to write the functions. If you can write the functions, then well and good, or otherwise there are activities in which you don't have to remember about the syntax or worry about writing the split, and you can simply do it using this. Now let me run this. Okay. So left side of split is your data manipulation. Here it goes, right? So because we said that I want the 0th index, if I do one index, then it would be the other part. Now continue, and there it go. Left side is data manipulation, right side is data label and strings, and that's how you split it. Now some other functions can be, let me create a new sequence for it. Could be index of, for example, I put in a sign statement and I write here a string. Say, for example, I write string manipulation dot index of, and I want the index of I. And it's going to return me an integer as it is mentioned here. Okay. So let me store it into a variable index of string. And let me put a message box here and copy the index of string. Now this index of string has to be an integer. So I'll change its data type here and I'll make it integer. Now when I'm typing the integer, now I'm printing the integer over here. Now let me run this. So I want the index of I, which is stri, the fourth, right? But index starts from 0, so it becomes 3. Now if I want to print it as 4, I can definitely go and write here +1. Now instead of index of, I do last index of I. So it would get this particular I. That's the last I. So let's check the value for it. So it comes as 16 because that's the last index. One other method that we saw in the presentation is substring. So we can write substring here and it would take start index as integer and length as integer. So let me say start index I gave 0 and I say 5. So it would start from here 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is what it is going to give me. Okay. Now the output of this would be string. So I'll just change the data type to be string and run this. So I get strin, which is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. Now going back to the PowerPoint, we checked concatenate, we checked contains, index, last index. We'll also have a look at the replace. We saw split, we saw join. Last is replace, which is fairly easy. What we have to do is, let me remove this and use a function replace here. So I will say remove string with data table. Okay. So string would then be replaced with data table. So now the output should be data table manipulation and not string manipulation. So let me run this. So there you go. It has replaced it. Yep. Substring, split, join, we've covered all of it. And we've covered all these activities as well. And we've seen the demo of all of it in action. And now I'm going to hand it over to Preeti to walk you through list, dictionaries, and data table. And I'll be available on the chat for answering your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Anmol. Thank you for this wonderful session on string manipulation. So let me start off with lists, dictionaries, and data tables. So let me share my screen. So I hope you're able to see the screen, right?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. So we saw the data manipulation about strings, right? So next we'll move on to collections. So let's see what a collection is. So collection is nothing but any data structure. So it can store multiple items of same or different types. So if you take array or list, you can store multiple items of same types. So there are some other collections which can store multiple items of different types. So array we have seen yesterday, day before yesterday in the previous session, how we are going to, we can use the array and how we can navigate through the array. So basically it's a fixed size and it's an ordered collection. The manipulation on arrays is very limited. But if we have to deal with dynamic data, we need to go to the list. So list is dynamic. We can do a lot of manipulations on the list. So one of the main use of the list is that whenever you don't know the size of the data, or you might need to shrink or grow the size of the data, right? In that case, we can use a list. So dictionary is a key value pair. So mainly it is used in configuration settings. So when you learn more about RE framework and other things, we use dictionaries to store the configuration settings. And even if there is any JSON format output or input, so we can actually convert them to dictionary and then use it. So next is a data table. So data table stores data in a structured format. See, data manipulation is something like unstructured is converted to structured, but there are some cases where even Excel has a master Excel. It has a lot of data. You need to pick only particular data, right? So in that case also we need manipulation. So for that we have data table. There are many activities like UI automation activities or email activities, which will give you a result in the form of a list or a data table or any other collection. So only if you know to handle the collection, you can handle those data types. Okay. So next, let me first introduce you to the list. So there are lots of activities. I'll try to cover whatever possible activities in the list. So first, what we have to see is how to build the list, how to create a list. Okay, so that we will see. Next, how to add an item to the list. And then we are going to check whether an item is going to be present in the list or not using this existing collection. And then we have merge collection. So if there are two lists, so how can we merge these two lists? So finally, we can also see about the filter collection. So filter collection, it will basically filter based on a particular condition. So then we have a remove from collection. So we can actually remove a particular item from the list, and there are different ways of doing it. So I'll be telling you about few ways. Okay. So then we'll talk about the dictionaries as well. So dictionaries are special. Okay, so it has a key value pair. So we add or delete the key value pairs from the dictionary. Okay, so we can either add a key value pair or we can remove a key. So if you remove a key, it means the value is also getting removed. It comes as a pair. And most important thing is the key should be unique value. Okay, there can be the list of keys should be unique. Only then it will add it. Otherwise, it will just update the existing key. The value will be updated to the existing key. And then we have different ways of retrieving the values. Different values can be retrieved from a dictionary. So we can get the value from the key. We can get the count. We can know whether a particular key exists or present in the dictionary or not. And then we can also reassign new values to the key. Okay, so let me move on to the demo of lists and dictionaries before going to the data table. Okay, so so first let me show you how to initialize a particular list. So now I'm just going to create a new variable, say my list, and the variable type, you have to go for browse for types, and then you can select, say, list and less than sign. So it will be under system.collections.generic list of type. So we have to select the type. So if I have to go for a list of integers, we can select integers, list of objects, anything. We can go it. We can go for a list of list as well. So that's how we can select the particular type of the list, whether it is integer or string. Okay. So now I have already created few lists here. So if you see, I have a list of string here, and this is the default value. So basically, we can initialize the value. So if you see here, for clarity purpose, I have just given. So this is the way where you initialize this, instantiate the list, and also add the default value. Okay, so this is instantiating, like how you are going to, because list is also a class, type of class, right? So you have to instantiate the object, right? So that is why you have to use a new list of string for instantiating the list. Okay, once that is done, we can also add the data. Okay, so if you don't instantiate the list, you will get an exception when you try to run the workflow. Okay, so that is how we have done it. Okay, so now the first thing is I'm just going to use a string.join, and I'm displaying the first list in my message box. Okay, so then there is another way of assigning, instantiating a list. So that is using the assign statement. Instead of giving it here, you are going to give it in the assign statement. So I'm just, I have just given the data type of my list to here, but I am doing the instantiation and adding the values from here. So it is the same, it's the same statement, but with the different names I have added. Okay. So now I am displaying that also separately. So let us just see this, how it displays the output. Okay. So the first list has Tom and Harry. The second list has Tina and Peter. Okay. So now slowly one by one, let's see what we are going to do. Okay. So the third way of building a list or instantiating a list is by using a build collection. Okay. So this build collection activity, it takes the first item, and then the next items are given as a collection. So I have used Sarah, and two items in the collection is going to be Joe and George. Okay, so in the properties panel, you can save the output, output as a mylist3, which is also of type list of string. Okay, here the instantiation is important. So we are just going to instantiate it here, and then we are going to use it in build collection. Okay, so now you have the third list, which has Sarah, Joe, and George. Okay. So that will also be displayed here. So we'll go to the next, and then I'll run everything. Okay. So again, the next thing is how to add an item to a list. Okay, that is appending. You're adding a new item to the list. So that is, I'm going to add, say, a new name, Jack, to this particular list. So that is append items to collection. So in the collection place, you have to give mylist3, and here you have to give what needs to be added. Okay. And so I'm again displaying the list after the added one. Okay. So let me just execute till here. So the first list will have these two names. The second list will have Tina and Peter. And the third list is going to have Sarah, Joe, and George. So this is the first, using build collection, we have done it, right? So the next one, after adding Jack, how is the result? So it is added towards the end of the list. It is going to be added. Okay. So I hope so far it is clear. So we saw three types where we can directly define the values, instantiate and define the values in the variable. We can use an assign statement, and we can use a build collection. And then we also saw how to add a new item to the collection. Okay. So the next one which we are going to see is to see whether a particular name or a particular value exists in the collection. Okay. So for that, there is an activity which is exists in the collection, where you are going to give the collection name, and you're also going to give the item. And then you're going to check whether it exists or not. Okay. So let's just now run this. So we have this my list 1, my list 2, my list 3. After adding, now we have added Jack, right? So if you see, I'm checking whether the Jack exists or not. So the exists is true. And what is the item index? It starts with 0. So 0, 1, 2, 3. Item index is going to be 3. Okay. So now let me just change it to some other value which is not there in the collection. So let's see what the result is. I hope I am clear with my voice and the screen, right? Just please let me know if I have to
You are.
raise my voice. Okay.
Yes. Very clear.
Thank you. So we have, if the item does not exist in the list, it says the exists is a Boolean output, which is false. And the item index returned is -1. So if you can check whether a particular item exists in the list or not. Okay. So now let me just disable these two activities. Okay, the others, let it be there. Okay, so now the next one is filter collection. So I'm going to filter this collection, my list 3. So what is there in my list 3? Now it has Sarah, Joe, George, and Jack. So I'm going to add a filter condition. So just like how we have seen in the previous session as well, the filter builder is something similar to this. So we have the current item. Okay. If you see here, then contains J. If the item contains J, then it will keep only the matching items. Okay. And then if you use remove matching items, it will remove those matching conditions. Okay. So first, let me show you keep matching items. So in that case, what happens is it contains J, right? So let me just keep the matching items. So let me run the file now. So it should display only 2 items, which is starts with J. Okay. So we have this. So now the filtered list has only those items which starts with J. Okay. So now let me change it to remove matching items. So that will be removed and the other 2 will be displayed. Okay. So probably I will just disable these 2 as well because it takes time, right? So okay, so it directly goes to my list 3 and then we have added Jack. And now the filtered list should contain only Sarah and George because we have removed the matching items. So the filtered list has only Sarah and George. Okay, so I hope this is clear till now. Okay. Build collection is there, appending items, filter list. Okay, so the next thing which we are going to see is merging the lists. So here what I have done is first I have merged my list 3 and my list 1. Okay, so the first collection is my list 3 and second collection is my list 1. So if you go to this notepad, it will be clear. So my list 3 has all the 4 things. So my list 1, Tom and Harry will be appended to the list. Okay. So next I'm displaying that. And then what I'm doing is I'm using that merged list and using the my list 2 collection. Okay, so now whatever has been merged, it is going to be these 2 from my list 2. These 2 will be added after this Tom and Harry. Okay, so that's what we are going to see now. Okay, so let me just run the. So this is merging of 2 lists. Because we have 3 lists, I have done it in 2 steps. That's it. So there are different ways of doing it, but I'm using the activities, main activities. Definitely you can use link queries and other things to do all these things. Okay. So we have my list 3. So it adds the Tom and Harry from my list 1. And now it adds Tina and Peter as well to the list. Okay. So now we have the final list here. Okay. So the next thing. So here I'm going to sort a list. Okay. Using an invoke method activity. Okay. So invoke method activity, the target object is going to be the merge list and the method name is sort. This is the VB.NET method. So you have many other methods like add or add, remove at everything, but I'm just using an example of sort. Okay. So this is one way where you can invoke the VB.NET methods and then you can manipulate on the list. Okay. So I'm going to sort it through ascending. So by default, it is going to be sorting it through ascending. So if you want to make it descending, you can just use after sorting the list, you can use a reverse so that it will display the descending. Okay. So that is what we are going to see now. Okay. So the other way of doing it is also there by using the invoke code activity. I'll explain it to you within a minute. Okay. There is a final one. So the sorted ascending order. Now after using reverse, it is descending order. Okay. So this is invoke code method, how you are going to sort and do it. Okay. Here in the arguments, you are going to, this name will be the name inside the code, the list inside the code. And this value is going to be the list which is there in the workflow. So which we are going to send inside this invoke code activity. Okay. And the type is list of string. So if you go to edit code, so what we are doing is the merged list is now in this variable. Okay, local variable, basically. So sortlet.sort, it will sort in ascending and then it will sort in reverse. Okay. So I'll just disable these activities. So I will have only these activities and then the sorted list. Finally, because both are applied together, right? Finally, you will get the descending list. Okay. So this is the final list. So we'll get a descending order, alphabetical order. Okay, so it's descending order. So whichever is suitable for you, you can use it. Whichever you are feeling comfortable with, you can use that. Okay. Okay. So the next thing which I'm going to do is remove from a collection. So you can give the merge list as a collection and you can remove by using a specific item or you can remove by index or you can actually truncate everything. You can remove all the items. Okay, so now I am just removing Jack and list after removing Jack, it shows. Okay, so the last thing is we can also convert a list to a data table. So that I will show you later after we discuss the data table. Okay, so this till now we will just run it. So after removing how it comes. So now sorting and reversing we are not doing. So directly we are going to remove the Jack from the merge list. So after removing Jack, we don't have Jack here. Okay. So that's about the lists. I hope you were able to follow and we can also share this. You can go through it. Okay. So let me move on to the dictionary demo. So how we are going to assign, initialize a dictionary and then how we are going to assign values to the dictionary. So all those things we'll be seeing in this demo. Okay, so same way, in variables, we can create a type of dictionary. So if you see here, you have to go for browse for types, and then you have to give. Okay. So dictionary basically has key value pair, right? The first variable is going to be the key. So you can have integer, string, anything can be there, but only thing, it should be a unique value basically. So maybe if you have a address book or something, you can have, you can't have a name because there can be same name, right? So you can have a key as an email ID or a phone number. Okay. So if in case of phone number, you can use an integer or a long, because integer will not have the complete phone number, right? Or you can use a string as well. So string comma string, it will be, the key will be string, and also the value will also be the string. Okay. So here I have you created a string comma string dictionary. Okay. And I'm using, definitely you have to instantiate it here, or at least you have to instantiate it here. Okay. So it's the same way how we have instantiated the list. Very minor changes there. Okay. So new dictionary of string comma string from. So within the curly braces, you can give any number of rows. Okay. Basically, I mean, any number of key value pairs. Okay. So this is the key, which is the email ID, and this is the value. Okay. So I have just taken the email ID and the name. So I'm just giving two key value pairs here. So E1 at company and E2 at company. Okay. So then the next thing is, like, there are different ways, like how ls, there are different ways to add the key value pairs. So simple way is just use an assign activity. So how you are going to assign it? You're going to use my dictionary, the name of the variable, and then you're going to give the key. Whatever key you want to add, you're going to give the key here. Okay. And then you're going to give the value to save. So it will create a key value pair employee1 at company.com with the value employee1. Okay. So same way, employee2 I have done using a assign activity. Okay. Here also there is a invoke code activity. Okay. So same way the arguments are given. Okay. And if you edit the code, I'm just using my dictionary.add. If I use add, you can add the third one, employee3 company and employee3. So as of now, how much I have added? 2 from this, 3, 4, and 5. 5 key value pairs I have added. Okay. So now let me just display all these key value pairs so that it will make sense to you. Okay. So if you see, we have used a for each loop here. So for each element from the dictionary, we log a message key value pair. Okay. So it will display both the key and the value. Okay. So let me run it till this. So it will have 5 rows basically. Sorry, 5 key value pairs. I'm just alternating a data table. It will have 5 key value pairs. Okay, so now I have given it here. So it has key value pairs 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay. So the next thing which we are going to see is what are only adding we have seen, instantiation and adding we have seen. So the next thing is we are going to see some other manipulations. Okay. Now, so reassigning new values to the existing key. Okay. So we have an existing key employee EMP1 at company, right? I'm just modifying the name of the employee to Peter. Okay. So it will modify, if you see here, it will modify this one, employee1 to Peter. Okay. So again, I'm displaying the same thing. Okay. And next we will display the value. So let me just disable this activity. Okay, so we have, we can run till here just to show how the name is modified, how the value can be modified for a particular key. Okay. So first, if you see, we have the 5 rows where this is the original one, and I have modified one name to employee one name to Peter. So now it is modified here. Okay. So what I have done, I have just used a simple assign statement. That's it. Okay. This is same as reassigning the value of a particular key. This is reassigning new values. Okay. So the next thing which I'm going to show is how we can get the value of an item. Okay. So there are different methods to retrieve a value of an item. So this is one method where we can give dictionary name dot item and give the key value. Okay, so this will retrieve the values. Okay, so I'll display it later, but as of now, you can just know that it will give the value of this particular key. So next is to check whether a key is present in the dictionary or not. Okay, so if you take for this, it contains key. So it will give you a Boolean result. Okay, so let's just display directly. I have displayed it in message box so that it will be easy. So we'll just run it once and then we can see both the things. How to display the value of employee 3 and how to check whether the key exists or not. Okay, so what is the value of employee EMP3 at the company.com? It is employee 3. So it has displayed employee 3. Okay, so the next one is to check whether the key exists or not. Which key? The EMP1. Okay, so it exists. So it displays true. Okay, now, so next we can also find the length of a dictionary. Okay, so we can also find the number of items in the dictionary, number of key value pairs in the dictionary. And last one, we can also remove a particular item from the dictionary. So I'm using this also, we can use invoke method, but for a change, I am just using the invoke code activity. Okay. So you can try out the invoke method activities and at your own pace. Okay. So basically to remove, we are going to remove the EMP1. So once that is removed, I'm just going to log the message and then display the key value pairs. Okay. So let me just run from now. So let me just do till here we have seen key present is dictionary, whether the key is present in the dictionary or not, we saw. And then we are going to find the length of the dictionary and display it. That is number of key value pairs. So in our case, it's going to be 5. And then we are going to remove it. Okay. So after removing, what is the what are the details left? That is what we are going to see. Okay. So I'm using the invoke code activity to remove a value from the dictionary. Okay. So this is the existing one. Just retrieving the value using assign statement, key present or not. And now it comes ours. So the length of the dictionary. So it has 5 key value pairs. So the length is 5. Okay. And if you see here, after removing the employee 1, so we have these 4 data, 4 key value pairs present. Okay, so that concludes our dictionary demo. So next, let me quickly walk you through the data table and then I'll go for the data table manipulation demo. Okay, so what is a data table? So first, let me just go back. Okay, so data table is a variable which can store data as a simple spreadsheet. So whatever you see in the spreadsheet, when you spreadsheet in the sense Excel, okay, you will learn more about Excel automation later. But from the Excel, if you're going to read a particular sheet, it will get stored as a data table variable. Okay. So if an Excel has huge amount of data and you need to do some manipulations, directly doing it on Excel or a macro will be like, of course, macro will be easier for a person who knows what do you call coding and the .NET or whatever, right? But if anyone wants to do it who are not a very good coder like me, right, we can also do it using a data table. Okay, so you can take it to the data table and then you can do the manipulations on the data table and then put it back to the Excel. So it will be much easier and also faster because link queries are associated with the data tables. Okay, so there are many actions. If you see here, there are lots, but we can't cover everything. But I'll try to cover few things, loop through a data table, and then how to filter a data table, and how to add a record or update a data table, how to sort the data table, and I'll also discuss about merging the data table and merging and joining the data tables. Okay, so let me quickly move on to the demo. Okay, so first, let's see how to build a data table. I don't want to take it from Excel or something, but I'm going to build my own data table with my own schema. Okay, so you are going to use the build data table activity. So before that, let me just show you how to create a data table variable. So you go to browse for types, system dot. Okay, just let me give a data table. So we have system.data.data table. Okay, system.data.data table. So this is the data table data table variable type. Okay. So now building a data table. So in the properties, we have numeric underscore DT. So that is a data table which I have created. So I have added 2 columns. You can use this plus sign to add one more column. Say column 3. So I'll make it as an integer. Later I'll remove it. Okay, so we can add the data directly or through a loop, we can add the data so that we'll see. Okay, and as of now, I have just added data to num1 and num2. Okay, I'll remove this. Okay, so I have added 4 rows of data. Okay, so the number 1 is 3 and number 2 is 4. So like that, I have added 4 rows of data. Okay, next, I'm going to add a new data row. Okay, new set of numbers, num1 and num2. So if you go for add data row, so you have to give the array row. If you have a data row variable, you can give the variable name directly here or a data row object here. But I'm using an array row. So this is how we have to define an array row, new object of 5, 9. So num1 is 5 and num2 is 9, basically. Okay. And then I'm going to save it in the data table. Okay, so now this, I'll come to this later, but I'm just going to tell you. So there is a specific for each. We don't use a for each here. We use a for each row. Okay, there is a slight difference. Here it is specific activity for a data table alone. Okay, so we are going to use a for each row in the data table. So if you see the properties, okay, so based on a condition, we can decide whether to go inside this loop or not. Okay, we can set a maximum iterations 1, 2, 3, whether to go through 1 row or 2 rows or 3 rows in a data table. And this correct index will give you the current row which is being displayed or which is being manipulated. Okay, so these are the 3 properties, important properties of for each row in the data table. Okay, so now how are we going to access? I mean, how are we going to display each and every row and column? Okay, so the current row is of type data row. So it will take 1 row in the data table. So 1 row in the sense, it will take, if you see here, it will take 3 and 4. So this will have it's a collection of 3 and 4. The data row will have 3 and 4. So like that, every row, it will be having it. Okay. So it will go through, loop through each and every row here. So now, so if you want to you access a particular element from a particular row. Okay, so you can do it in two different ways. So one is current row of 0 dot toString. Okay, current row of 0 will be the column 1, the first column of the current row, that is num1. Okay, or you can also mention current row of the column name. Okay, so both the things will give you the same. Okay, so if you want to mention current row of 2, I mean the second row, basically the second column, basically not the row, second column. So current row of 2, current row of 1 will give you the second column. So what will current row of 2 give? Do we have a third column? No, right? So current row of 2 will be an exception. Okay, so current row of 1. So it starts with 0. The index of columns starts with 0. The index of rows also starts with 0. Because we are using a for each row, we are not using the row index here. Okay, we are using only the column index. So this denotes a data row. Okay, so that's why we are using a column index here. So we can display it this way. So let me just, okay, I don't think I need to show this. I'll show directly here. And same way, as I mentioned, for the second row item, so second column, I'm going to give current row dot item of column name, num2. Okay. So this I have commented the code. I don't want much information, like same information repeating again. So I have commented it. So this is very useful. I usually use it. So current row dot item array. So I have used a join method with a comma, and it's going to give current row of the item array. So what is item array? It will give the whole row, basically. It's an array of the row items, basically. So all the columns will be displayed together with comma separated values. So how can you get it? So you have, there are many inbuilt methods, right? So if you give a dot, you can see lot of things. So you can see whichever you want, you can get it. So item, item is there to give the specific column name. You can have item array. So there are many things. So basically we are going to use the current row of item array here. Okay, there are n number of things based on your need. You can explore and then you can use it. Okay, the inbuilt functions. Okay, so now let's just see how it gets displayed first. So instead of for each, I'm using a for each row. So if you see, all the data is displayed here. So all the columns, the added one is also displayed. Okay, so now how can we access through the index? Okay, just the index instead of the current row without for each loop. I'll show you how to access just using the index. Okay. Now suppose if you see here, so this is row 0, row 1, row 2, row 3, and row 4. This is column 0 and column 1. Okay, I want to access this, maybe 8 is unique, right? I'm going to access this 8. Okay, so it belongs to which rows? First row and first column, right? So basically, 0th column, first row. So it will be 1, comma 0. That's what I mean to say. So first column is 0, second column is 1, first row is 0, second row is 1. So if I have to give this 8, it is going to be row 1, column 0. Okay, so that's what I'm going to give here. So first, let me take the data table name and then rows. Okay, so it will denote all the rows. So in that, I'm going to take the second row, which is index 1. Okay, and I'm going to take the first column, which is index 0. Okay, and always the output is going to be an object. So I'm going to convert it to a string. Okay, so let's see whether it is displaying 8. Okay, if you see this output, it should display 8. Okay, so let me run this. think I have to go a little fast. Okay, so we are displaying 8 here. Okay, so now I have just done a small manipulation here. Okay, so what I have done is the next thing I am adding a new row here. Okay, I'm adding a new row, sorry, new column. New row is already done, which is add data row. I'm going to add a new column, which is sum. And then I'm going to update this column with the sum of num1 and num2. So first thing, I'm going to use an add data column activity. So the properties of add data column will be almost similar to what you have done in the build data table. So we can define the argument type, there is a column type. And then if you have the length, specify the length for string, you can specify the length. If it has to be unique, you can keep it as unique. Auto increment, you can use for integers. So if you want not null, you can if it is a key and if it's a primary key sort of thing and it should not be null, right, then you can enforce this also. Okay, by default it will allow null values. If you don't want to allow, you can make it as false. Okay, so this adds a new column called sum to the data table. Okay, so now it has a new column. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to update the row item. Okay, so the column will be there, but it will be empty. So I have to update the particular column value for each and every row, right? So I'm going through a for each row in the data table, and I'm going to use the update row item activity. Okay, so what it is going to update, it's going to update the value of current row of 0.toString, which is the first num1. I'm converting it to integer. This is num2, converting into integer. I'm finding the sum, and I'm going to save it in column sum. If you use number, you have to give 2. Okay, so I'm using the column name itself. I'm going to give sum here, the column name. Okay, and then for which row I have to update the current row, because I have used a for each row in the data table. Okay, so it's going to update the current row. And then we have, I have just displayed it so that we will see the sum. Okay, so let us quickly run this file. Okay, so if you see the output, so directly we have, these are the first, after adding sum, we have the other values as well. Okay, it's added values. The sum is there. So one of the most important thing which we often use, okay, let me enable this activity. Okay, sort data table is there. So sort data table, nothing difficult. It is similar to list only. We have a directly we have an activity here. It's easy. We can definitely use link queries to sort it with different types, but this is a simple one. So I'm going to sort based on the sum, and order is going to be descending. Okay, so now I'm going to display the sorted DT. So it should be in the descending order. Okay, last one, I'm going to see for this particular thing, and then I'll go to the next demo. Okay, last thing is to use data table as a text. Okay, sometimes we need to use a string to pass it on to a queue or to pass it on to something else, right? We need to use it as a string. So this output data table as text will convert this data table into a string. Okay, DT underscore text, if you see, it's going to be a string data type. Okay, and then I'm just going to log a message here. So let's just run this and show all the outputs together so that there will be more clarity. So I have just divided the outputs with some headings, so that will be easier for you to see. Okay, if you see here, this is the initial one. Okay, all the data, and after adding the sum, now we have the sorted list. Okay, and then we have the, of course, sorted list. It is stored in another data table. So the original data table is taken here to convert it to a string. Okay, so this is what is there in this particular thing. So the next thing is quite simple. Okay, I'm just going to talk about two things: merging a data table and joining data tables. Okay, so let me just Open that. It's taking some time to open, I guess. Okay, so here, before moving on to this, I'll just show you the sample Excel, okay, which I have created. So sample Excel is, it has a student data sheet, which has student ID, name, and course, okay, and it has a new student data sheet, okay. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to convert this to a data table 1, and then I'm going to convert this to a data table 2, and I'm going to merge these two data tables, okay. So that is the first thing which I'm going to do. Second thing is, see, one important thing while merges, you should have the same schema. Otherwise, it will not merge. Okay. And it will be like one on top of the other. Okay. So the next thing is, I have something called as a book, where we have the book ID, book name, and the student ID who have received the book. So I'm going to join the data table based on the student ID. Then I'm going to show you the results. So that's all is what we are going to see here. Okay. So you will know more about the Excel activities later, but as of now, I'm just going to use just a couple of activities. Okay. So read range workbook is one activity where I'm going to give the Excel path and what is the sheet name. Okay. And then in the properties, I'm going to give the data table name. Okay. As an output. Okay. So the sheet 1 data I'm displaying here by using for each row. Okay. For our information. And same thing, I'm going to use a sheet 2 data from the new student data, read range workbook, new student data, sheet 2 data I'm going to display. So this is the first step. Let me display the data first. Just bear with me for 5 more minutes. I'll quickly finish it off. Okay. So you have sheet data 1. So it has these 4 students and these 4 students are in the sheet data 2. Okay. Okay. So next thing we are going to see about the merge. So merge data tables, directly there is one activity which is merge data table. It has the source, it has the destination. So basically the new student DT will be appended to the student DT, basically, okay. And there are some properties, okay, missing schema. So if there is anything missing, if the schema is missing, it is just going to add the schema. That is, it is mostly useful if we have the same schema. It will add blank values. If there is another column, extra column in student DT, right, then it is going to add a blank value for this. Okay, that is missing schema add. And ignore, it is going to remove the, it is going to not add the schema at all. Okay, that is ignore. And then there are different other things. So there can be error messages, or that we can add the new schema with some key. Okay, so that I'm not going to that details. So we'll just use the same schema, and the properties is going to be add. Okay, and the destination is going to be in student DT. So the merge data, I am displaying it from the student data table. Okay, so it's one on top of the other. It's basically like appending the data table 1 to the destination. So let me just show you the output. It's very simple. It's easy to understand. So if you see the merge data, it has all the data. Okay. So now comes the join. So here there is, if you are good at SQL, right, joins, it is similar to that. But if you are new to joins, it might take some time to understand. Okay. It is, you can't say exactly same. It is quite similar to it. Okay. So in the join data tables, there are basically 3 types of joins. Okay. So first, I'm reading the workbook of sheet book. Okay. So in the join wizard, I'm giving the input data table as the student DT. Now the student DT has the merged data, if you remember. Okay. So, and then I'm going to give the data table 2 as book DT, and the output is joined DT. Okay. So I'm going to join type as inner, and I'm going to join based on the column names. So make sure this column name is belonging to this and this column name is belonging to this. Okay. If it is otherwise, you will get an error. Okay. So you can give a column name here. So what inner join is, it will join the common rows. Okay. It will join the common rows where this is equal to this. That is inner join. Okay. So the next thing is left join. So left join is, it will have the student DT, that is input data table 1, okay, as the base, as the left, okay. And first it will display all the joined rows, okay, inner joined rows it will display, okay. After that, whatever rows are there in the student DT, extra rows are there in the student DT, that rows will be displayed, but wherever there are book columns, right, it will be blank or null. Okay, that is left join. Okay, so the next, we'll see the output and then I'll explain again. And next is the full join. Okay, usually we use inner join because that is what we are going to extract, right? And this join, if you are very expert in coding, you can learn link queries, and it is very amazing for quick data manipulation in data tables. Okay, so this we have often used in our, even in our projects. Okay, so the next thing is join wizard full join. So what it does, first it takes the join, inner joined rows, okay, and it will take the rows which are not matching or the data is not there. Okay, it will take from both the tables and join together. So wherever there is no value, it will be blank. Okay, so I will run this completely and I will show you the output. Then you will be able to understand. Okay. I hope you were able to follow the session. You can always see the recording and then you can pause it in between and take it at your own pace. Okay, so now let me just go here. So this is the sheet 1 data. You have S1 to S4. Sheet 2 data, S5 to S8. Now this is important. The merge data, we have S1 to S8. All the things are there. Okay, now we have, okay, I didn't display the book data here, but let me just show you the inner join. So this is, these first 3 columns are from the student. Okay, last 3 columns are from the books. Okay, whichever is matching, S02, S02, S04, S04, S03, S03, whichever is matching, only those rows are displayed in the inner join. Okay, there are extra rows, extra books in the book table, and there are extra rows here as well, but only the data which is matching will be joined. Okay, and here in left join, first all the matching data will be joined, and then the left is the first data table, right? So which is the student DT. So the extra rows which doesn't have a matching student ID in the book, that is 5, 6, and 7. It doesn't have 5, 6, and 7. So that will be appended towards the end. So the schema will be the joint schema, but it will first add the all the inner join details, and then it will use the left data table, left side data table, that is the initial data table, the first data table, and it will give you the values, and wherever there are no values, it will be updating to blank. Okay, next is the full join. So in full join, it is going to give the inner values, and then it is going to give the values of the first data table. The rest are updated by the null, and it is going to also update the right side. There is a second data table. So wherever there is no values, it's updated to, because S100 and S101 are not there. So it's going to update it to blank in the columns of the student DT. And only the book DT columns will be displayed here. Okay. So that's the end of the demo. Okay, let me move on to the presentation. But before that, I would like to ask if there are any queries.
Yeah, just we do need to do a time check. It's 11:40 now, so we're running a little bit late.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's just, I think we're gonna have to get this and not do the Menti quiz today.
Okay. Okay. I think I'm done actually. So it's just the quiz time now. So do we want to continue?
Sure, we can do it real quick if people want to stay around. So if everybody would go ahead and join, and log in either the QR code, or I'll put this in chat. We can do it real quick.
Yeah, it is up to
No, it's
based
fine.
on the
If
times,
people want to
based on the time.
stay. I just want to say though, Anmal and Preeti, while we're waiting for people to join the quiz is, wonderful session, just so much information. You guys are so lucky to have this. All this is going to be recorded and available tomorrow. So, you know, I didn't want to stop anything because it's just really good information for you guys. So, really nice job. So if you want to, I'm going to share my screen, I think,
Okay, sure.
with the quiz stuff. Let's see. Exit for a second. Hopefully you guys are still joining. Remember the URL is in the chat. Let's try this. Here we go. Good, 19 players. Anybody else? 20. Awesome. I'm going to give you guys just like 30 more seconds to join us. Might as well join in the fun. There's going to be a prize at the end. Can we get it up to 25 players? There's one. Okay. I'm going to need one more, you guys. We got 23. Okay, let's get going. We did it. Way to go. Okay. Okay, you have to answer fast to get more points. What will be the output of the following expression in UiPath? HEL, ELL, LLO, or LO? Looks like hello when you look at all of them. Oh, congratulations. 11 people got that right. Nice. Okay, so let's see who's leading us here. It doesn't look like it's moving, so I think, Suresh, I think it's you for right now. So let's go to the next one. Okay, question 2. You have to answer fast again. Which activity is used to extract a portion of a string based on a pattern? Is it replace, matches, split, or substring? That was a hard one. Good job to those who selected matches. Okay. It's hard to tell who's in the lead here. Earthman, you're in the lead. Okay. Got a couple more questions. Here we go. It's going to get faster. What is the index of the first element in a list in UiPath? Is it 0, 1, -1, or none of the above? These are hard questions. I would not be getting these. Ah, you guys all got it. Good job. Okay, one more, you guys. First, let's see where we are on the leaderboard. Earthman, are you holding tight? Ah, very good. Ah, volcano moved up. Okay, one more, you guys. All right. Last bit of fun for the day. How do you initialize an empty list of strings in UiPath? Do you do list string, list.new, new list, or new list of string? Good job. There's some tricky questions in here, Preeti. Okay. All right, good. So let's see who the winner is today. Earthman, you did it. Good job. So Earthman, if you can put your email address in chat to me, I will send you a prize. And we're not going to have Mente quizzes for every session, but we will have at least one more during these sessions. So you guys have to stay tuned for us popping a quiz on you. Anyway, we enjoyed having you guys here today. Again, the speakers were phenomenal. And I'm going to make sure that I grab your email, Earthman. And you guys have a good rest of your day. Don't forget to register for Monday's session. We love having you guys. And we know that you guys are going to really benefit and that from the value of really learning all this. And I also want to thank the rest of the staff too, who was diligently answering all your questions in chat. You guys did an amazing job. So thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you all for staying up late. Thank you.
Thanks, Severu.
Thanks, Preeti. Thanks, Anu.
Thanks, Preeti.
Thank you, guys. Have a
Thank
good
you.
day.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.